In this tutorial, you'll be learning about part assemblies. Part assemblies are when you combine individual parts into one product called an assembly. What we'll assemble today is a simplified headlamp. We'll start off with the lamp base, add in the light bulb housing, then an outside belt, and finally the cover. Remember that you must build these parts to complete the tutorial. To get parts into Solid Edge, you simply drag the part file into the window. Solid Edge will automatically ground the first part placed in an assembly. A grounded part means that it is constrained in all degrees of freedom, so it cannot move in the X, Y, and Z direction, nor can it rotate around the X, Y, and Z axes. You assemble parts by applying constraints that keep it locked into a certain position. Since the lamp base is already fully constrained, you will add in the light bulb housing. I will explain some of the constraints. However, the best way to find out what they do is to test them yourself. Mate puts two part faces together. Planar align aligns planes. Axial align aligns part axes. As you can see, there are very circular definitions of what each constraint does, so it's best to test them out yourself. Back to the assembly. We want the housing to sit directly in the middle of the base, so we'll use axial align. We'll pick the axis in the middle of the base, then we will pick the axis in the center of the housing. Solid Edge will automatically update to show constraint changes. Sometimes parts constrain facing the opposite direction and need to be flipped. What we're going to do is we're going to click on the part file name and go to the option that pops up at the bottom of the screen. Click on the option and a dialog button will pop up in the center of the bottom of the screen to flip the part. Now that we have our axes lined up, we need to align the outer edges, so we'll use planar align. Pick the part faces that need to align and Solid Edge will update automatically. Next, we'll add in the outside turning belt. As before, drag and drop the file into the assembly. The first constraint applied will be a planar align. Select the outside edges of the belt and of the base. Once updated, we can see that the outside belt is not concentric with the rest of the assembly. Since there is no picking axis in the middle of the part for an axial align, we'll turn back on the reference planes of the part and align those instead. Every part in the assembly is linked to its original part file. Go to the part file name, right-click, and select Show or Hide Component. We can see that reference planes are off. Turn them back on. Repeat the same process for the base. Now we can see the reference planes of both parts. We're going to use Mate to align the two vertically. Next, we'll use Mate again to center the belt completely. Depending on how you created your parts will determine which planes you need to align. So your way of construing the part may be different from the way that I'm showing you right now. Now that we have finished using the planes, we'll turn them off to not crowd the model. Now to the final part, the cover. Constraining the cover is identical to constraining the outer belt. As before, we'll drag and drop the file into the assembly. The first constraint will be a make constraint. Once Solid Edge has updated the file, you'll see, as before with the outside belt, the cover is not concentric with the model. Since there's no picking axis in the middle of the part for an axial line, we'll turn the reference planes back on again for the cover and the base. Using the reference planes, align the cover so that it is concentric with the base. Solid Edge will update the constraint automatically. Now we have a fully assembled model of a headlamp, and in the next tutorial we will learn how to render the model so that it looks more realistic.